Welcome back to Just Another Solar Podcast. My name's Nigel Morris. I am happy to be here again today. We're missing Jess McPherson. Sadly, she is unfortunately unable to join this week, but Carl's back. Carl, we speculated on the last episode that you may not come back. If you did come back, you could be a different person. What are we dealing with, mate? Fill us in.
Oh, Nigel, I changed my life insurance before I went. So It turns out I had about 150 grand's worth of life insurance with my superannuation. Right. And for about another $150 a year, I could double that to 300 grand. So I figured at least if I got run over by a car, because they drive on the wrong side of the road over there, Nigel. Yes. If I got hit by a car, at least the missus be able to pay out the mortgage.
Right. Well, that's a success. That's a tick in the box.
Up there for thinking. Probably don't need to change it back. But very interesting, Nige. Lots of people riding around on push bikes in Europe, and lots of fantastic electric push bikes with buckets at the front so they can load their kids and their groceries, whatever, in the bucket in the front. And the best one I saw was a woman in her early 30s. She had 4 kids plus herself on one of those bikes, which was incredibly impressive. One of them was a baby, and she had a pram that folded up and clicked into the bike at the back.
Wow.
And you're just like... And here we are talking about electric cars. They've got 5 people on an electric push bike.
Yeah.
We must... Anyway, turns out that learned a little bit about the cost of living crisis in Australia. We should all just shut up because it's nothing like the cost of living in Europe, which is absolutely astronomical.
Oh, really?
Unbelievable. You go to Europe and you think, geez, this is expensive. Maybe I should buy a couple of beers and a sandwich at the 7-Eleven type equivalent. And sure, they're not bad. And you might save $40-50 between 2 people, but it cost $5,000 to get there. So might as well drink beer in the beer garden with the wealthy people. Look, Tomorrowland was fantastic, and food and drink while we were there was $1,200 for 3 days. So that's literally beer, lunch, and dinner cost $1,200 in 3 days, which is just nuts. Not complaining about the food or the beer or anything; they were all top notch.
Yeah.
But if you go into Europe, everything is spectacularly expensive.
Yeah, holidays. When you were talking about it being, the better part of $1,000 a day, I remember going there in 1985 with a book in my backpack that said Europe on $10 a day. So there's inflation for you. Let's get onto the real topic though, because there's been a lot going on in the industry locally, Carl. I've been on the road. I've been to Townsville. I've been to Melbourne. Just got back from Melbourne this morning. I was in Canberra the day before. I was in Sydney the day before that. And massive announcement, one of the biggest announcements we've had in a long time, with an expansion of the SRES program. For those of you who are living under a rock, the SRES program typically stops at 100 kilowatts, and it has been expanded now from 100 kilowatts to 1,000 kilowatts, a megawatt. That is designed to fill what's called the missing middle, that space where commercial and industrial has really battled, particularly for the last few years. It's been a really, really tough segment. It's been hard to get traction there. And the Minister and Minister Bowen and his department acknowledged that. We actually released a report earlier this week, which highlighted that. It was titled Unlocking the Missing Middle, with 5 key recommendations which we made. And we were delighted when the government came out with its announcement on Wednesday, which actually ticked off 2 of those boxes in terms of the recommendations that we made. There's a lot more work to be done in this sector. It's hard to address some of the issues that are there, but fabulous news. We had several hundred people on a webinar this afternoon with the Minister and some of his team to talk through the details of what that program meant and when it was going to kick off. For those of you who weren't able to be there, it kicks off on October 1st. So it's going to move pretty quickly. So essentially, last quarter of this year, you're ready to go. As long as you don't commission before then, you'll be eligible. You will need to understand some of the eligibility requirements and the T's and C's. Of course, there's always T's and C's on everything. But Carl, I think this is great news for the industry. What do you say?
I love solar panels, Nige, and I say to people all the time, solar panels are cheaper than fence palings. So we should be installing as many as we can and in as many places as we can. One thing about going to Europe that's always my favourite part is looking around and seeing what they're doing with renewable energy. And in the Netherlands, you only have to go 5 minutes from Amsterdam and you see a 600 kilowatt wind turbine in a paddock. And if you go to somewhere like The Hague, I thought The Hague was something about international human rights and something that I saw on TV. As it turns out, it's got nothing to do with that. It's all about selling ice creams, beer and food on the beach. And the beach is magnificent. And there were tens of thousands of people there. But I love the place because I was looking out over the water at perhaps 1,000 offshore wind turbines, which were right there.
Wow.
And you just go, wow, this is fantastic. Every paddock that you drive past, even on chemical plants or tailings piles covered in solar panels. And of course, we just don't see that in Australia. We still don't have enough wind turbines. We don't see a lot of commercial scale solar farms like you do in Europe, driving down the freeway. Every farmer's got 200 kilowatts on his shed.
Yeah.
As soon as the announcement was made, my dad rang me. He said, where are we putting the 200 kilowatts? I said, you can't use 200 kilowatts anyway, Dad.
You've got a battery dump somewhere, haven't you? You've talked about that in the past.
Yes. Actually,
put it on the battery dump, just shove the batteries underneath.
Block up the road just came on the market. They want 200 grand for 2 acres, but you've got to clear 10 feet of stuff that someone's dumped there. And I'm guessing that given it's hazardous waste, it'd be millions of dollars. So
right.
That program for my battery recycling's on hold for the moment.
I tell you what, the other thing that happened this week was AEMO released their latest quarterly energy dynamics report. It's a 91-page nerd's paradise, Carl. I don't know if you've read it yet. I kept expecting to see you quoted in it somewhere, but it is absolutely chock-a-block with... I actually talked about this at one of the events that I was at, because it actually talks about how this is the first quarterly report from AEMO where the NEM has really completely changed shape. It's just forever different now. And, some of the stats that were in it were just mind-boggling. I'll rattle some off. 12 gigawatt hours of small-scale batteries, 9 gigawatt hours of large-scale batteries, right? So astounding quantities of storage now. Batteries are setting the wholesale energy price 36% of the time now in the NEM. They're so prolific. And a great stat I heard from Minister Bowen actually was that in 1 year in Australia, we installed more storage capacity than the US has installed ever. So it just gives you this sense of scale, incredible scale of what we're doing. Here's some other, I'll just rattle them off. Distributed solar is now 26 gigawatts, large scale's 10 gigawatts. Wind energy hit a new peak of 13 gigawatts, grew 80% in Queensland, despite the fact that seems to be hated dramatically by the policymakers up there. It's where the big growth is at the moment. Coal-fired generation fell 5%, gas-fired generation fell 30%. Maximum energy demand's fallen to 30 gigawatts. Which is an interesting one to me, because I used to have a graph on a website I ran about 10 years ago called the New Normalometer, where I was tracking the closure of coal-fired power plants. And at that point, the coal-fired capacity in Australia was 45 gigawatts. And today, maximum demand is only 30. So, that wouldn't stack up in terms of economics. And the minimum demand continues to go down. It's now 12.6 gigawatts.
So those numbers don't include rooftop solar. Is that what you're telling me?
Minimum demand does, yes. They both do, actually. They both would include the behind-the-meter stuff. Yes.
Yeah. So bit of rubber there.
Yeah, a little bit of rubber. Renewables contribute. That's the net result, though, right? Net result. Renewables contributed 42% of generation. And, of course, as we know, solar produces so much energy these days in Australia that it's free for 3 hours a day, which the whole world is watching.
Even better, Nige. Even better.
Or 4 hours.
Yeah, four.
Four,
Yeah, with
there you go.
OVO and Globo both got 4 hours.
Oh, they've expanded. There you go. And the net result of all of that from the AMO quarterly energy report, the last one, was that wholesale energy prices fell 47%, which is a 6-year low. So despite the fact that we're not necessarily seeing that flow through quite yet, we will. I'd
argue, Nige, that the reason why the standing charges have gone up is anytime you input capital into your grid, i.e. you put in a couple of $100 million worth of batteries, someone's got to pay for it.
For sure, someone's got to pay. But I tell you, it's not the cost of LGCs or STCs that are forcing the price of power up. That's completely evident. So the cost of subsidising renewables is not what's driving energy prices up, Carl.
Oh, sure. So the question is it more expensive or less expensive to install a battery that acts as a peaker plant and isn't in regular cyclical use, which the Geelong bid battery is? It still costs money to park that asset there, and we pay for it in the standing charges. If we don't have it there, the lights go off. We have to have it. But these things aren't free, and we know that. Everything's expensive.
There's no such thing as a free lunch, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's cheaper than the alternative, right?
Yeah, it's way cheaper. It's the cheapest form of energy known to man, according to the IEA a couple of years ago, and it's only getting better and better and better.
What's that, solar or wind?
Solar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was wind somewhere.
No, used to be. It's solar now.
Well, solar panels are cheaper than fence palings, right?
yeah, I know. And whiteboards too, apparently.
Yeah, definitely.
You ever tried to buy a whiteboard? It's cheaper to buy a solar panel. Yeah. Carl, anything else from you before I bring in our guest? Because we've got a really interesting conversation ahead of us. Any other big news from you around the marketplace?
No, probably not really. STC numbers for heat pumps are terrible. But the business that I work for, iStore, we've gained an increase from last year, and we've obviously gained as a percentage of our market share. So no one's complaining about that. But heat pumps in total in Australia have almost halved versus last year, which is terrible.
Why?
People got no money. They spend it on a battery they can't use, Nige.
Batteries, damn you.
Damn you, batteries. Yeah, totally. But look, the flip side of that is people figure out pretty quickly that batteries don't make gas, and they go, well, I've still got this gas thing and it's still costing me money. So they will get there eventually.
They will. And there's some pretty good deals available. My daughter, Charlotte, shout out to you, Charlotte. I helped her get a quote recently because she wants to get rid of her gas hot water system and gas central heating system. She's in regional Vic, so they use a lot of heating there, and wanted to add solar and add batteries. And the quote to replace a heat pump and a splitty, a ducted system, and put, about 10 kilowatts of solar and about 25 kilowatt hours of storage on, totaled up after rebates, which are very generous in Victoria, totaled up at around 20 grand. She's buying at the cheaper end of the market, so that was a cheaper solution, but for a young family, that's the market they're in, and I was pretty stunned that they could do the entire place, heating, cooling, hot water, and solar and batteries for that kind of number. So I was pretty happy for her. Big news of the week. Made the television, made pretty much every one of the major mainstream papers, was an allegation of alleged attempted bribery of, what was it? It was of a public officer, where an inverter manufacturer, a representative from an inverter manufacturer tried to bribe a Clean Energy Council official with some cash. We don't know all the details yet. I saw yesterday that he appeared in court again, and his bail was refused, so he remains
nuts, right?
in custody.
A kid down the road can cut someone's arm off with a machete and walk away. But look, to be fair,
bribery is a pretty serious offence, especially when a public office is involved.
I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking how fucking hopeless the CEC is getting things approved and certified. and it takes a long time. And there's been some very suspicious activity with one particular manufacturer managing to relist a product with a different plug within days of the original one being removed from the list. So I think that there's more to this story, Nige. Watch this space.
Perhaps far be it from me to criticise the CC. As you know, I've done lots of things with them over the years, and we're sort of alongside each other in this space now.
Takes more than 6 months, though, Nige, and
the lag in approval time is abhorrent. It's abhorrent. It's really terrible. It's costing people tens of millions of dollars, and I've been a vocal complainer about that for many years. So I completely agree with. However, what I do think, Carl, is that the fact that the Clean Energy Council staffer who was allegedly attempted to offered a bribe, allegedly, they reported this, and so I think kudos to the Clean Energy Council and their staff. Because this demonstrates that they're not open to bribery. It was reported.
Yep.
And it demonstrates that despite the fact that it might feel unfair sometimes, this is a pretty clear example that, you got to play by the rules, right?
Yeah, look, I've been given a bottle of scotch for my birthday from an STC trader, and I rang up my boss and I said, hey, I just thought I should disclose that I've just drunk a bottle of scotch that was given to me.
Forgiveness, right? Forgiveness.
Yeah. Look, I didn't even cross my mind until after I'd drunk it. And it was my birthday, it makes perfect.
That was big news. I do agree that I think there's more to come in this, and I do feel for the guy. He was clearly frustrated at something and felt like that was the appropriate course of action. Time will tell, and clearly it wasn't the appropriate course of action. So,
look, I feel for him. I know the guy. I've had a few dealings with him, and he's a lovely, lovely bloke. So very, very unfortunate that he's felt that he needed to do this in order to get his product. Allegedly, in order to allegedly get his product listed when there's such. Well,
we don't know what the cause was or what he was trying to achieve by yet. That hasn't been disclosed. So we'll just have to wait and see for the findings of the court case to come out in due course, I guess, Carl.
What do you get for a 20 grand bribery, Nigel? I mean, is it a week? Is it a slap on the knuckles? Is it a 20 grand fine for you to pay the court? I remember when I was about 20, I got done doing about 140 in a 60 zone, and a friend of mine's dad was a QC, and he says, I'll represent you in court. And literally he says to the magistrate, my client would be happy to make a sizable donation to the court. And I just went, are you fucking kidding? We're sitting in court, and this is the method of getting a lower sentence, is to offer the court a bribe.
Oh, dear.
So it's not new. It's been happening the world over. So let's not get too excited about it, and let's wait and see how many others are wrapped up in similar kind of things. But
yeah, look, our industry has had its fair share of shenanigans. There's no doubt about that. But in this case, it's a good story, a good news story in some sense, in that corruption is not working. From what we saw, it got called out, and that's the takeaway. Let's see how that one plays out. But look, we do have some guests in the waiting room. Logan and Michael Haggerston are here. G'day, fellas, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, g'day, Nigel. Carl,
thanks so much for taking time out of your afternoon to come on the show. I bumped into one of your colleagues the other day and was chatting. And I thought, there's such a story to tell about the evolution of what you guys have done, and we'll get to that in a minute. But why don't we start at the beginning? Firstly, father and son team, gotta love that. I'm just always excited when I see solar businesses that are into the second generation or the third generation in some cases, because that shows that we're getting. The fourth. Yes. Good Lord. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us the story of HCB. Give us the couple of minute backstory on who you are and where you came from and how you ended up sitting here.
So HCB started back in 1948 as an electrical company, HCB Electric. My grandfather started it with about 2 other guys, and that's how the name became. There was Haggerston, Crawford, and Brownlow. They only lasted for about a year, and then they left, and so it was all my grandfather's. And he was based at Bullaroo, and we did a lot of domestic, industrial work and commercial work. And my dad ended up becoming an electrical apprentice, but not for his father. He ended up going to the power stations. So I think about 10 years after, my dad was around 30, and he was asked by his dad to come back in and work when they had a project on. So he did, and it was only a small company, I think about 3 guys then.
Yep.
And he started working back there, and they started doing some boat building. So they were doing the electrical on it. And what happened was they did the first one, and then after a year, his dad passed away. So he was pretty young when he passed away, and my dad took over the business then. So,
right.
And that's how the company then got into, we're still doing a domestic and commercial, but the shipbuilding started in Newcastle, and we were aligned with the company in Current Subways. And what happened was it grew, and we did ships like Aurora Australis, the icebreaker. We did, what else? We did a lot of mine hunters and everything. And what happened was me and my brother worked at the shipyard, but I worked at the electrical side. So we had electrical, marine and design company. Mm-hmm. So my dad, after quite a few years, when he was about 55, sold off the marine division to a Dutch company when the frigate contracts were on. So, and we didn't win them anyway, so we got out of it at the right time. And that's how me and my brother ran the electrical company. I started in about 1978, and I think, we did a lot of council work, industrial work all through Newcastle. We ran about a dozen guys. And up until that stage, solar was never in the picture then, but I got into fibre optics and did early when fibre optics first came out, did about 3 kilometres of fibre through a lead smelter and learned all the traits, but we still did electrical and that. And I found that I dropped out of the data side and ended up going more towards electrical. So I think it was until 2008 I got interested in solar and did my training. Went down to Sydney and did the training, and then that's when I started. We did a bit in HCB Electric doing solar, but then I thought I want to create a separate business just concentrated on solar. So in 2010, I started HCB Solar.
It was probably similar. I got the call to come back.
Yeah, it was overseas.
I was in Europe.
Yeah.
And I'd already left the business, and then I got the call to come back and do the solar.
And you were only about 21 then?
Yeah, I would have been 21, around about. So,
Never got good till he was 25. Fight with him all the time. So,
I've had the pleasure of dabbling with you guys over the years and watching you grow and do all sorts of things. And so, okay, so 2008, you said, I think, you got HCB. You guys were renowned as one of the really high, still are, in fact, full credit to you, one of the really quality players up around the Newcastle area, and have really done an amazing job with the work that you've done up there. And then I only really learnt recently. I sort of had a bit of a sense that you'd changed direction, but after being in solar, you did residential, you did commercial, you did pretty much everything there was to do in solar. But I hear that there's been a big shift, and you've transformed the company yet again.
Yeah, so I think it's probably the last milestone, hopefully, for a little while. But this year we've got out of all commercial and residential, so we've just solely just utility. So we're just doing mechanical, no electrical, and that was probably a transition we did, which happened in around about 2018. So from then we've just been growing that side of the business, and it just got to a point where, it was just an easy decision in the end. So yeah, we just shut it down.
So that's a huge decision. I had a phone call out of the blue the other day from a fella who's, did his trade, left after he'd finished his apprenticeship and had a year or two up his sleeve, formed his own business, did contracting for a couple of years, jumped into solar, jumped into batteries, made a bit of money on the battery rebate, and he rang me out of the blue and said, Nigel, I want to go 100% solar. I'm right in solar and batteries. But he said, it looks a bit volatile. Looks like it could be a bit up and down. What's your advice? And I said, well, yeah, it's not called the solar coaster for nothing. Was it that volatility and that up and down? How did you get to the point after all that experience?
I think it probably was. I think in the end, our utility side of the business catered for probably about 70% of our annual revenue. So we kind of got to a point where the residential and rooftop works from commercial couldn't support the other side of the business at all, where it played a massive role along the way from 2018 to now to support the business in the time of slow times, etc. And at the end of it just become more of a drag on us. So I think that'd probably be about it. When it comes to the volatility of the market, it probably was a factor. Like the last 2 years before we made the decision, like as we've all in the industry know, we had, one rebate come in, one rebate go out. Another rebate got announced 6 months prior to it even coming out. So the whole industry just went on halt. So, and I think come last year, we had a bit of a slow patch on our construction side, and we couldn't rely on the other side, and the other side was actually drawing us backwards at that point in time. That was right about the time when they announced the second rebate, and the first rebate got axed pretty much, the local New South Wales rebate.
PDRS, yep.
Yeah, so, I think it got that. It's a hard market, I find, like the residential. It's so many customers you're dealing with day in, day out. So especially like we did the numbers the other week, and we got 12,000 customers that we've dealt with over the last, X amount of years from 2008 onwards. So, 12,000 customers just starts to compound on you week in and week out. And the utility side involves us having to travel a fair bit for work as well. So at that point in time, me traveling and managing works outside and then having a local business back home, you really struggle, I think, to find the right people. It's not really the right people, but someone to manage it like you would manage it. It's like this kind of business really involves a fast-paced and
with
like
the change
residential, just the changes and I think trying to rely on external business for a residential company was
we've always tried to be ahead of everyone else. If if you go back when everyone was doing the 1.5 kilowatt or the 1 kilowatt systems, we jumped into the BER and we're doing 5 kilowatts. We did 600 schools. Yeah. And then we got in and we did one of our first jobs in around 2013 or larger commercial was 132 kilowatt BIPV for SunPower.
Oh, beautiful.
And they sent Logan and me to Lyon in France to train.
Wow.
So, we were always out there and tried to look at ahead of the time. And even when you got to the machines that we've got now, the Geic piling machines, we were one of the first ones to bring them into Australia.
Yeah.
And that back in 2016,
Yeah, that's what I was learning about was that you guys have, you were real, pile drivers are around, right? People use pile drivers all over the place, but there wasn't many people who were early into that space and really getting innovative and ahead of that curve, like you say, on using those for these large-scale solar projects. And so that's a niche that you guys found that you seem to have not only built your expertise up in and sort of found a bit of a niche. And I don't give your business secrets away, but clearly it works, right? Clearly you've been able to shut down or park a one part of your business, retire one part of your business is probably the right term, and look, that's a drain on us. That's not working for us anymore. And lo and behold, we've got expertise in pile driving. Who knew there was a business in pile driving, right?
Yeah, no, I think like our first jobs were 100 kilowatt jobs down in Bathurst. Like we did this for years and years and years, and It wasn't until, I think, what did we work out, about 2021, we first got in the utility scale. So from 2016 to 2021, we kind of just potted around, did small 100 kilowatt jobs under the commercial side, worked for the likes of Autonomous Energy and I can't remember the others, but yeah, all that kind of company. And then, come 2021, it was kind of, we'd learnt so much along the way, but I think a lot of it was more we learnt what not to do. Well, that's how we tried to. So there was a huge gap in the market, and at that point, we kind of like were the first ones to evolve into the GPS, which is commonly used, but we were the first ones with the GPS rigs, successfully managing projects with it. So, and the scale. So I think our first job, which we first contracted into, a company in Queensland, was a 440 meg. We had 100,000 posts we had to put in over 9 to 12 months. Yeah, so we learned a lot quickly, and that was right in COVID, and we had GPS first installed. We had to install it, and that's where our electrical background, it was no one could come out here to manage the systems and help train us. So, yeah, we sat there on Skype calls to Germany for 3 months. So, steep learning curves, but we always tried to have the approach that we wanted to be, we need to have a system in place to control it, to eliminate the risks. And that's been the same. Like we work now in a lot of the mechanical servicing for like preventative and reactive maintenance on the farms. And you have one problem and we've got 3,000 problems. So you really need to be on the A game. And that's what we found. We've been very systematic. And I think solar as a whole, whether it's a 5 kilowatt or what we're dealing with, everything's systematic. And I think that's the work that I really enjoy. Yep. And that's a part of what I enjoyed in solar from the start. Like I started on the roof and was on the roof for the bulk of my, I guess, early days, which I enjoyed as like a mechano set. And then I think...
Yeah, we're not salespeople. We're people that have got hands on, and that's what Logan's always started from the bottom and came all the way through.
Yeah. And leading back into the residential and commercial, not being a sales company made it hard. I think as a whole way along, we'd see sales companies come up alongside us and just continue to grow and grow and grow. As a installation company and a contractor background company, we didn't understand that side of the business, which, I think was another driving factor for where we ended up where we are today. We're not a sales company.
Can you run that number by me again? So the first decent solar farm I went to was First Solar, and that was 10 meg on the ground in WA, and that was massive. At the time, no one had ever done anything like that. What was that number again?
Yeah, our first job was 440 megawatts.
440. How many acres? Yeah. What footprint does that actually take?
Logan rang me up and said, "Dad, can you go do some pile testing?" I've never even driven the pile machine before. I said, "Yeah, I can do it." So I took another mate, and he was 7, and we went up, and it was 7 kilometres by 3 kilometres, and there was wild pigs in there, everything. The grass was as high as the doors. You had to drive the truck through, hoping not to catch fire.
7 kilometres by 3 kilometres. Our family farm is 1 kilometre by 450 metres.
It's mind-boggling, and the size and the numbers are crazy.
The simplest way, whenever people say how big are they, you just think of what's 7 kilometres away, or try to picture a square. Then every 8 to 9 metres, you got a post in the ground. Yep.
Yeah, 8 to 9 metres. That's a fairly decent span, yeah?
Yeah.
So these are big posts.
Yeah, you'll be dealing with an I-beam. I think, in terms, they're called a W6 foundation, but they're generally 160 by 160 in a H foundation beam. Yeah.
The machines lift them.
Machines lift them, machines drop them in. And that was like moving into the GPS side. Like our guys literally just push a button when they're at the location, and it drives it to the depth and stops it at the perfect position.
So when you say drives it, does it smash it? How does it drive it into the ground?
Yeah, it's got a percussion hammer. So basically just a percussion hammer, so loud noises, really a high velocity hammer. And just knocks them in. Usually 1 to 3 minutes per post, and a team of 2.
Is that right?
And
One
in
to
the
three.
early days before GPS, you used to have to get a surveyor in and he'd peg them for you.
Yeah, so
And that would cost you 400 grand to do a peg.
Wow.
So the
And so,
GPS
you know, for those who are unfamiliar and haven't seen these plants being built at that scale, so it's one of these big 160 square posts or H post. It's going in about every 8 or 9 meters. You said, how deep do they?
That's like this big. That's a H beam post. It's this big. Yeah,
It's a big post.
Yeah.
How deep are they going?
generally 2 to 3 meters.
Really?
Wow, really deep.
Damn, that's a lot of steel.
It is, yeah. Each post will be roughly around about 40 to 50 kilos in weight. Sometimes a little bit less, but yeah, generally around that.
Right.
It's a lot
And
of
so
steel.
there's a litany of early learnings from the early days of large scale solar where the geos were wrong. Right. There's plenty of examples of bad geos and projects blowing out and
Snowy
destroying
hydro.
companies, destroying companies overnight. Do you, what's the scope of what you guys do? Do you cross over into geos, or what's the scope of your business?
Yeah, so our scope will usually, what we usually do is we'll do survey. So once we get the survey, we'll move into a pile foundation design. So what we're looking at there is a height design. So today we're dealing with horizontal trackers, which are straight line trackers, or then the introduction in the last 2 years has been the curve trackers. So you're dealing with curve models where we're modeling the data and designing the exact pile position within 20 millimeters over the top of a hill. And so you're running up and down valleys, but that's where the GPS, literally every post is the same. You get there, you push a button and it ends up at a position. So that's the next one. So part of once we get into the piling will be on distribution. So we have people that will distribute using GPS piles into the field and into the location. And then we have our machines come through. We knock the post into position and then remediation afterwards. That was what we did for literally 2 full years. That's all we did, was just put posts in. Or actually probably longer. It wasn't until 2023 that we went into the mechanical build, which we're doing now. So that's the next step, which is, I guess, installing all the componentry onto the post, installing the torque tubes, they call them. That's the big long tubes that all the panels swing on, and then installation of the panels. And that's where we stop. The beauty of that is we're the first ones in and we're the first ones out.
Right.
So we're not getting caught up in the back end of the project. But following that, we move into the O&M, which is cleaning. We're a sunbrush importer and distributor in Australia and New Zealand. And then New Zealand, we actually operate and have a cleaning company out there as well. And then we also work on the O&M.
Does the sun shine in New Zealand? When did that happen?
not as good.
It does, yeah. It's actually pretty nice. It depends which area. So our first project over in New Zealand was in the Christchurch region.
Yep.
And sun definitely shone there. The last project we did was in the North Island, and it just rained all the time. So,
That's what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Right, so you've found, and clearly you through a bit of trial and error and mucking around doing different projects, because the obvious temptation, right, is to go full EPC, where you go, well, hang on, I've already got my team here, I've already got a donger here, I've already got trucks here. Why don't I just do all the dirt clearing and throw the panels on? But you've found a sweet spot that you think works for you, have you?
Yeah, pretty well. Like just the amount of complexity in the jobs. Like they're very simple, but you want to maintain it that way. Once you start to have companies bringing in multiple, whether it's electrical, whether it's mechanical, whether it's civil, each, I guess, area of business has its own challenges.
Yes.
And where they come unstuck, which we found, and we've seen companies trial it and fail, as well as some succeed, but usually they'll come unstuck because one's going bad, so all their energy goes into that. At the same time, the other's gone bad because they haven't put the energy in to maintain it. So
Right.
Probably the moving into the mechanical from opposed to just foundations was probably something that I'd say we got forced into a little bit. We didn't have the choice because we needed to build on the piles that we had put in. So otherwise there was too much risk from a he said, she said kind of scenario. So you had to take a responsibility, which has been a good one for us. But yeah, taking on EPC, I don't think people understand the risks and the costs, but also how much detail is involved in EPC.
Yeah.
So much.
It's huge.
We haven't got any other backing than ourselves.
Yeah.
We're on our own, so to go to that next jump, we're doing pretty massive jobs now.
Yeah, you had me at 7 kilometres by 3 kilometres and posts that are 5 metres long and weigh 60 kilos. There's no getting past that. It's a lot of money in steel.
So we've also we brought in the sleds to put in we got the license from the US to put in the sleds. So we built the sleds in Australia, and that's how we install the torque tubes.
Yeah, they're like a big hydraulic trailer where we load up, I think we load up like 50, 60 tubes at a time. So everything we've done, whether it's been the GPS or now the sleds, moving into the mechanical in 2023 was the introduction of the sleds from the US. So
wow.
It's like a big Santa sled gets pulled behind a tractor and you load up all the tubes and it hydraulically dispatches. And
if it's muddy, it can drop down and skid, so you can do it even if it's raining, where all the Manitos and that can't, they get bogged, So.
Right. So a fair bit of capital investment for you guys, I'm guessing, right?
We've got 13 piling machines now. So.
2 drills.
Wow.
So a lot of machinery and that,
We've got to put a fence in on the family farm in Bairnsdale.
I think it wouldn't be. I'm guessing that's not the first time someone said that to him, Carl. So the other thing that strikes me about this is whenever you look at industries as they mature, inevitably when they start off and they're a bit smaller, companies try to do everything, right? And then as they grow and as you get scale, there's this opportunity for it to split out and you get specialists in different parts of the industry who now have the scale to be able to go, look, mate, I'm just going to do your pile driving and I can beat everyone on that. I'm the best pile driver in the business. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to come in, I'm just going to drive your piles and I'm going to kill it for you. I'm going to make it awesome. Blah, 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 blah. Is that where large scale's kind of heading now, that it's starting to break off into those specialist fields?
Yeah, I think it's always nearly all, for the bulk of it, it's been like that.
Right.
And I've even seen companies that have been doing what we're doing now merge into an EPC. They don't keep doing what we do. They just sub you back out. So like you grow enough that you don't want to deal with what we're dealing with. And I think every company's got that same level. So the EPCs that were once contractors now sub you out to the contractors. Right. So they don't do it in-house. It's just the easy way is, and I think that's what we try to do, is we come in and we try to make their life easy. It's just they push and send a purchase order and they have posts in the ground and structure built. That's kind of the, they got enough to deal with.
Every time I ask Chris Bowen, are we on track for 82% renewables by 2030, he tells me, yes, we are. But obviously it relies on you guys. What is the pipeline for this? Is it lumpy? Is it regular work? Are we booked out 2 years in advance? I mean, I'd love to hear that you were booked out 5 years in it. Well, actually, 4 years out to 2030.
Yeah, one thing that's like pretty scary in these kind of projects is you could have, call it a $15 million job. They'll award it 2 weeks before and tell you to be on site in 2 weeks.
That sounds fantastic.
And then you got 8 months to build it.
Yeah. That's literally like what we've had to deal with over the years.
Wow.
We were pretty much like from 2020 or 2021, we didn't stop all the way through until 2024, 2025. It was just flat out. There was a lump last year when the change of government came in. So we're still seeing, it's not as bad as a solar coaster that we all know. But yeah, government change was one. It's been a slight recent change. I think we've felt and noticed in the last probably 6 months, which we've only just come off jobs in the last month. But we're seeing a slight shift now. But the forward order is just, well, not forward order, but the forward projects that we're seeing is just out for the next probably 6 to 8 years, really.
Yeah.
So these projects, they surely can't all be 400 megawatts, or are they?
Bigger. Yeah. So I think like most of them, like we just completed a 330 megs. That was the last one. Everything else is 200, 300, 700. Once it gets to that, they start splitting the scopes. So you have multiple contractors on site. Like we wouldn't even entertain something of that size. But you generally find the sweet spot's 200 to 300 meg a contractor. Once you go more than that, they're sometimes biting off more than they can chew, and that's just because they don't have a longer time frame. So usually it's 8 months to build 100 meg or 8 months to build a 300 meg.
So do you employ a whole heap of full-time guys that do this, or is it a network of contractors that come and help out?
No. So in our one, we've got probably about like on field staff, probably about 15 field staff permanents.
Yep.
So they're our skilled guys. We've had most of them for about 5 years from when we first started, and that's one thing we're pretty proud of.
That's great.
From there, as the same as we did with residential, we've really just tried to build it on relationships, but also reputation. So we find most of our guys, they want to come back and work for us again. So that's a good thing. It is project works and construction, so you are start, stop to a degree.
It's hard to get that smooth into the next project.
So outside of that, we for a long period of time, just because we've been growing over the last 2 years, it's just been internal employment. Now it's full-time in-house and labour hire out. We just you need that labour hire just more to manage the labour.
And that's what's scary. I was saying to Logan, how many guys have you got working for us at the moment? He go, I think 130. I go, geez.
Nice. 15 full-timers and awesome.
Wow. And so we were talking earlier about the government's announcement and whether this is a plus or a minus for you. So there's a sweet spot in terms of size for this, presumably for the level of service that you provide and the cost of providing those services and all those, GPS controlled pile drive, is there a sweet spot and is this project, is this CNI funding up to 1 megawatt too small for you guys, for example? Is it not going to work?
I need 300 acres, Nigel.
Yeah, the big one for us is we're systematic, so we have to use GPS, and that's what I said. It gets the smaller the systems get, the harder it gets. I can turn up and do a 1 meg easy, you know what I mean? But that's when you think about it, you're doing lasers, and you know what I mean. You're managing this, and you're having to do internal survey and then design. So we got to do the same works pretty much for a 1 meg as we do for a 5 or a 10 or a 50 meg.
Sure.
You're looking at, what is it? Let's call it, I think it's probably even exaggerating, 800 posts to put in on a 1 meg system. I think it's a maximum. 1 meg, so 800 posts we'd completed in 5-6 days.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? Then it's just, you're on site.
The minister would love that.
Everything that I said about scalability of solar farms, Nige, just forget about what I said.
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
Well, that's what I'm heading. Right, there's a sweet spot, and I've seen this in commercial before, right? Where you go, well, hang on, if I'm doing all this work, I might as well try and make the project as big as I am, because the design work doesn't fundamentally change, right? A lot of that back end stuff, and I bumped into Matthew recently, and he was telling me about what he's doing for you guys, and that's there's a lot of work in that design and prep stage, right, before you actually get to whack a post in.
There is,
We're very lucky to have the calibre of Matt with us, because we've known Matt for a lot of years, and very, very happy to have Matt with us.
He's a good boy. And so I was interested. I mean, I was browsing on your website before, and I see you've got all your QA. I mean, I know you guys have been very, very strong on that stuff for a long, long time. But if there was someone else out there listening to the show and they went, I wouldn't mind, switching from residential solar to, want to do 1 meg solar farms now or whatever. How big is that transformation in your business? Is that a massive shift, or is it just an evolutionary thing that how different is it?
Look, for most people, it should be, well, not for most people, for some people it'd be pretty easy, I think. Yep. That's like, the problem is machines. When we first got into it, we paid $70,000 for our first machine. Okay, now for the machines we've got, we're spending 300 to 350 grand for that same machine.
Phew.
It's just the increase in cost is just significant. So the other hard part is that for someone to invest even 200,000 into a machine, if you get a good rate or something, it's then, if it's not working day in, day out, it's like, it's just a bit of a waste of capital sitting there. And then it's just holding the skill set within your business. So it's like anything, you've got to hold electricians, you've got to hold a skill set. You try and hold someone knowing how to run machines and mechanically work things. That's the next challenge, where you may find business owners that are owning and operating and managing in the field. That's generally probably the person that it may adopt to, because they can, and that's what we basically did. I was in the field, I was on the machines for years. So I don't rely on anyone. I think that's probably one thing we've tried to do as a business, is not rely on other people.
You always do have the skill set
yourself. To a certain degree. Like, you get to a point, and that's what we've had to now, which has been probably a good part of the business, is rely on other people and work with people. But in that smaller scale, I mean, like 1 meg, you're getting to that point, you're going to have to run and manage that machine yourself. But,
wow.
Yeah.
A lot to think about there. I'm conscious of time. We're running out of time. I had one last question for you. You know, when you talk to people, especially when they've got larger businesses in doing resi and even a bit of small commercial, you know, the rebates come and go. The cash flow is always king, right? And cash flow can cripple your business very, very quickly, especially if rebates turn off or stuff like that. You guys have a different problem now, that you've got all these assets sitting there that you've got to invest in, and then, you know, the return can be big. But would you say it's, was it a good move?
Yeah, definitely. I remember, like, we had a business coach, which was really great for us going back 5-6 years ago. She said, don't do ground mount, just focus on residential. And
Didn't listen to him.
we didn't listen. But, like, for us, we're so glad we did what we did. Cash flow, like, up until probably the last 2 years, we've just been reinvest. And we've tried to, we're at a point now we've got the equipment, we've got the machinery, we don't need to as much keep investing.
We're investing in other things now outside of it.
Yeah.
So we see the future as bright. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's amazing stuff. It is a fantastic story. One of those podcasts, Nigel, where you just go, hang on a minute, my bubble is only very, very small, and the bubble is much, much bigger.
I know.
We've just started in Fiji too. We're hoping to do our first project there.
Oh, brilliant.
So we've got machines getting delivered over there, and we're going next week to unload them, hopefully.
Oh, brilliant.
Is Eddie May involved in that at all?
Oh, we don't go there for money.
No.
It seems like every man and his dog wants to get a project off the ground in the South Pacific at the moment. Lots of good times that come alongside the hard work and the sweat and the humidity. I'm guessing is going to be a special man who can work in the field over there. We're pretty much out of time though. So as is customary, I'm going to whip around the room and ask a question about how you manage, through all these ups and downs, through all these hard times. How do you manage your stress levels? How do you guys manage this? You got 4 generations there, so there must have been some lessons passed down in what to do right and what not to do. How do you guys manage the balance, the work-life balance?
Well, Logan, I know what Logan does. I don't know. I've always enjoyed work. It's always been my passion, I think, and I've always looked to achieve things, and it's not about money, and I think that's what's driven me, and I still enjoy looking at what Logan's doing, and I talk to him a couple of times a day, and I love that. So, but I've still got a lot of things I do, but I do a lot of things, so yeah.
So
what about you, Logan? You're I've watched you turn from a young man into a mature gentleman who's now in control of a famous empire, 4th generation, and no pressure, mate. How are you managing all that?
Look, I think we've got good genes. That's the first thing. Like, I think it's not everyone can manage and do what we do. That's a given. But I don't know. Michael loves work and loves the passion of work. I'm into I like my windsurfing and activity. So now my kind of goal is to utilise this to do what I love doing. At the same time, though, I do enjoy it. I think the people we work with and our employees, and then we're up to most of our staff working on 5 years, so I do enjoy coming to work and dealing with them. If I didn't enjoy that, that would make it real hard, I think.
Magnificent.
I've got a specific question for you, Logan, and that is, if and when Sun Cable gets off the ground, can you put in a good word for me? I want to have a business that has an electric pie cart, and I'm literally just going to deliver hot pies and big M's to people that are working on. I reckon I can make a good living in my retirement doing that, because that's gigawatts, yeah?
I hate to blow your bubble, but people are already doing that.
Really?
Yeah. We can put you on one of our machines as a pile driver and you can deliver them as you go.
There you go.
Fantastic. Oh, look, I love it. That's fantastic.
Bain Marie on the side.
Yeah. Look, it makes sense, right? If you've got hundreds of guys on a site, then it makes sense to be able to deliver them a hot pie for lunch.
Yeah.
No, I think you're on a winner there, that's for sure.
Carl, what about you? You did. Let me make a guess. Your trip overseas, which we started the episode with, that was a big recharge for you, right? It was a break from the work. It was time for you to spend with Angie. Was that
was my honeymoon,
really key
Nigel.
recharge?
My
honeymoon, of course.
Honeymoon, indeed. So as it turns out, I hope I never have to go on another honeymoon again, Nigel.
They're not cheap, are they?
No. Look, it's not about that. It's the other stuff with the divorce and such. That's way too painful. So I hope this is my last honeymoon, and in which case, absolutely enjoyed myself. It was fantastic, and always a great thing. My Facebook posted pictures of 6-story car parks that had wooden laminated beams as the support structures instead of Australia where we see concrete. And you go, hang on a minute, why did they do that? They did that because one is storing carbon and the other one is using shitloads of it, i.e. concrete. So those things are a big eye-opener, and of course we have lots and lots to learn, a long way to go.
A bit of inspiration and a bit of fun, and celebrating your honeymoon. What a great way to recharge, mate.
Look, ultimately, everyone should have a recharge and a holiday. I don't think I'm going to get back to Europe for a long time. I tell you what, Nigel, another good thing there is good chat with Dougal and Luke. We've been exceptionally lucky to be guests of solar businesses, and our employers pay for us to go to events like Intersolar, and Intersolar was just recently as well. A couple of photos posted by Adrian Amato the other day. This was the dream team back in the day, and it was 6 or 7 years ago. So we were exceptionally lucky that those trips were, or that we were able to go on those trips. So very, very thankful to be in the solar industry at all. And of course, I stayed at the Shangri-La in India, Nigel, which was the most spectacular hotel I think I've ever stayed in. And you stayed there when you went over there on the Smart Energy Council junket. I mean,
Indeed.
India thing.
It was not a junket. We worked very hard. Although we had a very full agenda. It was good. It was great, of course, but it was a very full agenda. With that, I am going to wrap our episode up. Listeners, thank you for joining us. Logan and Michael, so wonderful to hear your story. Thanks so much for joining us, fellas.
Yeah,
Nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. It's nice to be able to share it with Michael as well.
Yeah. Good on you. Good on you, fellas. Listeners, give us a like, give us a share. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.